Hello and welcome to ESC Essence. It's good to see you. Putting Eurovision at the heart. So today I thought, since it's grand final day, it's finally here, can you believe it? Eurovision Day has come, we will finally have the champion crowned. But I thought it'd be a good idea if we just look at the running order. Yeah. And we see who's got a good spot, who's got a not so good spot, and just have an analyse basically the pros and cons of this running order since it's been producer picked. So yeah, who even is in this running order? We start off with Cyprus, then we move on to Albania, Israel, Belgium, Russia, Malta, Portugal, Serbia, the United Kingdom, Greece, Switzerland, Iceland, Spain, Moldova, Germany, Finland, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Ukraine, France, Azerbaijan, Norway, hosts the Netherlands, Italy, Sweden, and we conclude with San Marino. That's the lineup for this year's Eurovision. So, as thing to point out, of course, is that the Netherlands in red, we can see that wasn't picked by the producers, that was drawn out of a hat since they are hosting. But the rest, beyond which half, be that first or second half, was picked by producers. So, I thought, let's have a look and see what the gender breakdown of the different acts were by their lead vocalist and see what's at the balance we've got. And yeah, it's not the greatest running order in that sense. So we start off with 6 female-led acts straight in a row. You do have acts like Belgium, which obviously the band has males in it as well, and Russia, which has male backing vocalists, but largely speaking I'm just looking at the predominant singer, and we do kick off to just female vocalist after female vocalist after female vocalist. And there are other sections like 22 to 25 where it's mainly male vocalists, and yeah, and again you can see that kind of like at the end of the first half of 11 to 13. So the first question of course is, why is it like this? And yeah, when you look at where the halves are, the producer's hands are kind of tied, because in the first half you only have Portugal, the UK, Switzerland, Iceland and Spain that are predominantly male vocalists. Of those, Switzerland and Iceland are big favourites in the betting odds, so they kind of have to be further to the end. Although looking at it, you can kind of see argument that Portugal or the UK could have been earlier to kind of break this up a bit more. It does kind of seem like an odd choice from that perspective. And even in the second half, you do have lots of clumps, so from 19 to 21, from 22 to 25. And like, being put in that 19 to 21 clump is kind of a good thing, because from around 17 onwards is normally quite a sweet spot, and you don't want to be too late either. But I don't think they've really considered gender when they're looking at how they've made the running order, so that kind of leads me that they've looked at it a different way from the likes of Chris Bjorkman might have when he was interviewed. I can link that in the description to the Eurovision site. But yeah, I don't think gender's the main factor at play here. So could it be more just the production-y up-tempo style thing? And it's very subjective, but I have tried to sort of level them out to songs that are more in-your-face up-tempo, you know, dancey numbers, and ones that are a bit more toned down, although some of them are a bit mid-tempo, the lines a bit not so clear-cut. And there's a better distribution. The yellow ones I think are a bit more up-tempo, so like Cyprus, your big starting song, and San Marino, your big closing song, makes a lot of sense. And they're fairly well spread out. Are some more interesting bits, like the United Kingdom is clearly being used as a more mid-tempo numbers to kind of break up Serbia and Greece. But overall it seems they've managed to have good interspacing between big songs and more toned down songs. There are other bits which might be a bit more questionable, but like having Lithuania and Ukraine close together is not necessarily a problem because they're both big favourites and that's a good spot. And then there's so much more in your face, so much more out there than Lithuania. So I guess Lithuania will build up to Ukraine and then it suddenly strips down to France. So things like that. And then the same with like Germany into Finland. Germany's big dance number, I guess, is just a bit of quirky fun, whereas Finland is a rock song, so very different stylistically. So I think from that perspective the running order is pretty solid. Why does this matter? Well, if you look at where winners have landed since 2000, you can see that there are kind of hotspot areas, so being around 10 to 12 if you get drawn the first half, or being around 17 to 24 if you're drawn the second half, I guess. So yeah, obviously the running order only plays a part, there are outliers in that, and this is only looking from since 2000, but you've got to remember that the number of countries since around, well, the introduction of the semis exploded, so there's a lot more countries these days, and that might take a toll on like the viewer, because if you're watching 26 songs in a row it might be less easy to remember the first song, whereas it was in the 1970s when you had winners from number one more commonly. I think it shows that the Netherlands do a good spot in the hat, but that's kind of irrelevant. Bulgaria lands in a really nice spot here with the 3 wins. So yeah, they seem to have, the producers seem to have a lot of faith that they can do well, and as I'm saying, then through to about Italy is really solid spots. So maybe Norway struck quite lucky there when you look at the odds, but I think Norway's the more ballad song within that mix. Maybe Sweden could have got it, but yeah, I mean, it's neither here nor there whether Norway or Sweden goes there. As for the first half, it seems particularly interesting they've given Greece such a good draw to me, because I haven't seen so much hype around Greece, but maybe I might have given that spot to Malta, but clearly the producers think otherwise, so that's an interesting one for me anyway. So is this a good running order? I think it's an okay one. I think it could be better. There are some interesting choices, and I'm kind of guessing that's maybe to do with wheeling sets out on stage. Not quite sure, but yeah, it's an interesting running order in that it will favour the favourites, which you kind of anticipate and would expect, but in other ways it kind of kills off like Cyprus and San Marino for the sake of a big open and close, and it has some odd quirks of the way it's quite gender imbalanced. So yeah, should we go back to random running order? Would it make much of a difference? I guess that's up to you. Do you even like having the half system? Maybe if we should just stick with producer led, but just have it complete freedom, or do you think the halves are important because, as you can see, being in that 17 onwards bubble is quite a nice spot to be, whereas the first half, yes, it does have its condensed bits, but there are more grey boxes, shall we say, in the first half than in the second half. Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to our blog, which should be up here. You can see a nice picture of it. We try and post quite regularly. That'd be useful. Yeah, and be sure to give the video a like and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you stick around. Over and out to you.